Welcome back to the Word Expanded. The Gospels, we're in Matthew. We're in chapter 16. We're going to read verses 21, I hope, through 23. It says this: From this time, Jesus began to show his disciples that he must go to Jerusalem and suffer many things from the elders and the chief priests and scribes and be killed and on the third day be raised. Peter took him aside, began to rebuke him, saying, "For far be it from you, Lord, this shall never happen to you." But he turned and he said to Peter, "Get behind me, Satan. You're a hindrance to me, for you are not setting your mind on the things of God, but the things of man." When we read this section, we got to put it in context with the fact that Jesus just praised Peter for getting it. And I'm going to build my kingdom on you. Right? You're going to be you're going to be a building block of this whole thing. And then one verse later, he says, "Get behind me, Satan." Peter all of a sudden went from getting it right to getting it vastly, terribly, awfully wrong. He literally was trying to put himself in the way of the path that God had for Jesus, the purpose, the plan. And Jesus rebuked, not Peter. He spoke right to the enemy that was using Peter. The Bible's pretty clear that you and I are a channel. We are a channel for spiritual things. And that's either going to be godly, right, spiritual things or ungodly spiritual things. And so on any given moment, our tongue, our actions, our mind can be used by God and can be used by the enemy. Again, the Bible warns us you don't want to be there. You don't want to be in the lukewarm place where cold water and warm water are coming out of the same spigot, where good things and bad things are coming out of the same mouth. You don't want to be there. That's not what you want. You want to be a wellspring forth of good, godly things, words and actions. But the truth is we're human. And where God's standard is no unclean thing, he understands that we're going to have this struggle. And so he's made a pathway. That's the death, the burial, the resurrection of Jesus. The fact that he conquered sin and death. He knows we're going to struggle with this. It doesn't mean that we don't confess things. What it means is that God knows. And he simply made a way for it. We don't have to bring sacrifices anymore when we figure out that we did something wrong. We simply have to take responsibility and come to God. And through Jesus, well, then we're going to be okay. If we confess, he is faithful and just to forgive. That's how it works. And so Peter, 1 minute, is declaring, proclaiming great things. The next minute, he is declaring and proclaiming opposite of what God has. We need to be careful because we can be in the same boat. Can be in the same boat. 1 minute, you can be praising God, and the next minute, you can be actually getting in the way of what God wants. I've seen it so many times, it's not funny, in my own life and in the lives of others. We're used for God and godly things, and the next minute, we're used by the enemy. So, you need to do the following. Number one, don't assume that because you call yourself a Christian and a Christ follower, that you're going to do that perfectly. That everything that comes out of your mouth or somebody else's mouth that is a Christ follower is going to be perfect, is going to be great. Don't assume that the enemy can't oppress you, and don't assume that the enemy can't use your words, your actions, your thoughts. He can use all of that still. And that's where the battle spiritually is every single day. So we don't assume those things. We also don't assume that we know the purpose, the plan of everybody around us. Peter had insight into Jesus being the Messiah, but did not have insight into Jesus' death, burial, and resurrection, even though Jesus had been telling them what was going to happen. So make sure that as you're dealing with people, You want to be the channel for godly things. You want to fight against being a channel for ungodly things. Take every word, thought, deed captive. Take those captive. But then we also need to understand my ways are not God's ways. What I'm doing, what I'm trying to purpose and plan for other people may not be what God has purposed and planned. So how many times have you stood in the way of people who get a cancer diagnosis, who go through relational problems, who get all kinds of things going on in their life? How many times have you made a declaration, a bold declaration, that this is not of God, and yet it was of God? The death of Jesus was of God. Nobody would have thought that back then. But we know that it is true. So be very careful that you're not making assumptions on any side of the equation, that you're diligently seeking God. So think about that. And we'll see you next time right here on the Word Expanded the Gospels.